Once again, Rob Churnside here for Cecil TV. Hello, Cecil County and the world. We have one more interview tonight on the weekly show, June the 2nd, and then this show will be history. Speaking of history, Mike Dixon.
How are you,
Tip
Rob?
of the hat to you, sir. I'm doing fine. And yourself?
I am good, thanks.
Thanks for the memo about the jacket thing. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
The snappiest dresser of any guest we've ever had on the show.
Thanks.
What's on your mind tonight, Mike?
Well, I was thinking perhaps we should talk about the Underground Railroad. Juneteenth's coming up.
Yes.
Today's June 2nd. And the National Park Service has recognized a few locations across the county, one very recently, just last month, as locations on the Underground Railroad. So maybe we ought to talk about those a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, and the Underground Railroad, to refresh my memory, it started any African-American slave that wanted to get out of slavery. There was a network of places and people that would move them to northern places where there was no slavery, right?
Yeah, you decided if you were enslaved and you decided you had enough and you wanted to seek your freedom and emancipation, you just took off one night, disappeared on what they called the Underground Railroad, and never looked back. And of course, the thing is, Rob, with that, of course, it's a very significant part of our history, very significant part of the whole nation. But because of our location here in Cecil County, we really play an important role in the Underground Railroad.
And that part of that is being connected to the Chesapeake.
The Chesapeake, you see, Freedom was just a few miles up the road there in Pennsylvania. Right. So if you could get over the Mason-Dixon line, what's it, 6-7 miles?
Yeah.
Something like that. Freedom was over in Jersey across the Delaware River. So here we are, this northeastern county in the northeastern corner of Maryland. Mostly if you're heading for Freedom, you're coming up the Chesapeake Bay, up through Turkey Point, maybe the Susquehanna River, quickly get on a little bit of land, hit that border, and Freedom, some degree of freedom was right there.
So how do you think St. Augustine Church, which is down like by the Bohemian River, how do you think that factored in?
Well, at St. Augustine, so we've got about 6 locations at the National Park Service, and they use pretty rigorous standards to do this, Rob. Like you have to submit a recommendation, and they have a jury, a group of peers look at it, and they'll question evidence and say they agree with you. So there's a variety, but St. Augustine's most remarkable one. So St. Augustine is a little Episcopal church, 3-4 miles below Chesapeake City, just right off the Delaware line. It's an Episcopal church. What happened there was when the British invaded the county in 1777. So they issued, so remember they come off in Elk Neck across
Right.
Hart's Chapel, that Piney Creek area, and it was a massive invasion, Rob. I don't know, you see numbers like 14, 15, 16,000, but it was in that range. And part of their division went over south of Chesapeake City. People see Courthouse Point on the map, and they set up camp there, but they issued a proclamation. If you were enslaved in Maryland, in any territory, if you came and would agree to go with them and fight with them, they would guarantee your freedom. Well, that's August, early September 1777. So there's a documented case of about 4 or 5 individuals from Chesapeake City, Cecil area, go to the British. Well, the problem is the British lose the war.
Right.
And you can't come back to Maryland. So the British honored their word. Generally, they transported these freedom seekers to Canada, and they started new lives up there. So that's how St. Augustine, British are camped there, and people are heading there because the British are going to give them their freedom if they'll fight for them.
Right.
So that's one location, and there's plenty more.
Yeah, and the Underground Railroad is just part of the Juneteenth celebration.
Yes.
Which
Yeah,
will
of
be
course,
somewhere-
it is the June. Yeah, it's when the people and folks in Texas find out about it. But it now marks a national holiday and
Right.
marks a celebration. Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on for Cecil County, but how can people find out?
Well, I would Google up the Elkton Colored School Project. They have a great little museum, and they are sponsoring Juneteenth. That's Saturday, and on there you can find out lots of information. Last year was a spectacular event, and this year will be just as spectacular, I'm sure. But go to the website for details and Google up the school museum.
That's awesome. And, you know, you're a wealth of information, Mike. You teach at Wilmington University and Hartford College. You're the Cecil County Historical Society historian. You've helped me with some songs on my new CD. And one of the songs, I want to give you one of these CD.
Oh.
I played a couple tunes on the show. Here you go. That's for you. But you know, you helped me with that song about Rodeo Earl, and we've talked about Rodeo Earl. That's number 11. But one of the most notable African American people, citizens of Cecil County, is Bernard Purdy from Elkton. I happened to, first I worked with his brother on the University of Delaware garbage truck. He was on the Elkton truck, and we'd meet at Richard's Dairy in Newark and, you know, get sandwiches.
So he also worked the University of Delaware truck too?
No, he worked the Elkton.
Elkton truck.
But all the trucks, you know, like all the trucks got together and stopped at different places. So I wrote a song about Purdy. I gave it to him secondhand when he was at the drum event up there in Delaware a couple months ago. It's hard man to catch up with, but he's a very influential drummer from Cecil County. And I hope if he ever hears this, he's okay with my drum part. But there's a lot of good people on this CD. I want you to have it. You helped me with a lot of the tunes, and a lot of the tunes have historical significance. Email me at boxturtlebob@gmail.com and let me know what you like.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you. I will listen to it this evening. Thanks, Rob. It's great. You certainly have some unique characters on there, and the county has plenty
I know
of
you
them.
want me. There's one in particular you want me to write a song about. That's a guy down at Port Deposit.
Oh, yeah. He's one of my favorite characters. That is
Pink Bug.
Pink Bug. I've drawn a memory blank there. Pink Bug owned land before I-95 came through, and when I-95 came in, the state took his land, but they didn't give him a fair value for it. Well, he stood up against the state, and it gets a little funny and quirky along the way. Eventually, he won his claim and got his fair market value for that property.
Collecting his own tolls.
He would go out with his
shotgun,
shotgun and shut off the off ramp there at near you, Perryville Port Deposit off ramp, and start collecting the tolls himself, since the state wouldn't give him money. But you know, Rob, he actually stood up against the state. Took forever. He passed before the state won the suit. But eventually, in the estate, they won the suit. And he was a cab operator, was what he was. He operated, and his name was Mr. Bug, B-U-G-G, and that was his name. That wasn't a nickname. So Pink Bug, yeah. You got to work him into your next edition.
Well, there's always more in 21904 Port Deposit. That's my zip code. And I think this weekend, Community Connecting Us is going to have a bicycle repair event down in Port Deposit. I'm going to find out about that. But you can also check with Community Connecting Us about their bicycle repair event. And I hope to get mine fixed and ride around and talk to folks and find out what's going on in Cecil County. Maybe do some reporting off the bike.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you. See you next time, sir.